Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Beth Gunter here with us, and she is a serious entrepreneur. She also works with hair salons as well, and then on top of that, she's a healer as well. So, Beth, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi. Thank you for having me. This is great. I've been in the beauty and fashion industry from a very young age. I was born clairvoyant, and a lot of those natural skills, natural abilities carried over into my work and kind of learned to hone them as I worked on clients.
Great stuff. Yeah. How did you actually end up doing this? Obviously, you mentioned as we're talking in a green room that some of your friends and people around you call you serial entrepreneurs. So, how did you actually end up in business and doing all these different things? Yeah.
I think that happens naturally when you're a visionary. And so what would happen is every time I would come into contact with someone, I would see what their greatest potential was and I would just say it.
Mhm. Wow.
And
Fantastic.
so it's interesting because it's like what's in our field and what matches with someone else's field is what amplifies. But for me, I had to learn what's not really for me just because I'm seeing it.
Okay. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Gosh, where do I start? At a young age, I would speak with my guides. Jesus and Mother Mary were my main guides when I was really little, and I would see angels, and I had different experience where I had a near-death experience, and um, and I saw and spoke with higher beings, and that's what saved my life. And so these experiences, I didn't understand. I didn't really have any support as a child. And so once I grew out of that home and moved away, and I started to open up more to myself spiritually and accept that part of myself, I began to feel more comfortable asking myself the questions that I didn't ask myself before. And what was interesting is a family member came to me and handed me angel tarot cards. And um, and that's what kind of helped me realize like, okay, I do have a little support. I just wasn't seeing it. So what had happened is for a short interim, and I remember when I was little, my guides warned me this was going to happen for a short time. And this happens with all of us. About age 7 or 8, we lose our clairvoyance. And so everyone is born clairvoyant to some degree. Everyone has gifts. It just varies with every person. And so once we're about 7 or 8 and we lose that, it's so that we learn different things, right? That we're here to learn. And then when we get to be in our 20s, we're able to revisit things and pull from those gifts and bring it back in so that we can use, okay, these lessons that we learned and heal from those lessons and use our gifts to do that.
Oh, and so for example, speaking to guides, is that something people learn? Is that something that everyone can do, or just like a certain group of people can do?
It completely varies. What I will say is, how do I say this? There are people who are different levels of clairvoyance, and then there are people who are different levels of healers. Just as there's different levels of hairdressers or for different professions, it's the same thing. But what often is missing is the bridge between the two. So there are some systems out there that help you refine some things first so that as you tap into your clairvoyance, it's more clear and it's not scary. What was interesting for me is I come from humble beginnings. So my clairvoyance was so high tuned, so heightened, but yet my environment was not the greatest. So it felt extremely traumatic. So it was a matter of figuring out, okay, when I hear things, what is truly for me and helpful versus what is being used in the environment to affect me. Different things like that. It's a matter of discerning, and it's a matter of seeing clearly what's truly for you, and the realization that when you do start seeing, when you do start hearing or knowing, those different clairs become more refined, and things, when they're really, really clear, that's when you know. But there are ways to teach this. There are ways, for example, something that I've been talking about offering recently is telepathy with animals, because there are certain vibrations that every animal in the animal kingdom carries to heal. So, for example, by teaching this, if I were to guide someone through a meditation of what it feels like to be in the heart of a whale, that vibration obviously is massive. Or the vibration of bees or ants. Every single animal has a vibration that's healing. So it's the same with people. People are mammals too. And we carry vibrations that sometimes can be healing, sometimes not so much, because we're a lot more complicated than an animal. But it's a matter of realizing what the lessons are, and pushing it to the side and clearing it out so that we can see more clearly and clear that channel. Because if the channel is mucky, it makes it very difficult to discern between what's really for us versus what's something coming at us.
Okay, yeah, and so obviously, when you were little, you discovered this gift, and then what happened afterwards?
So I was very quiet about it. I just felt like, honestly, I thought I was adopted for a long time because I didn't really have anything in common with my family. And so I just kept to myself. I felt very isolated because nobody else understood what I was going through. And I also lived in a very small town, farm town, so there really wasn't much of a population either. But what I will say, what was interesting is I went to this church where there was thousands of people, and it was kind of cool that I was acting, singing, dancing, all of these things to perform, and that was kind of my way of letting it out through my voice. So it's like when we allow ourselves to be that presence, to be who we really are for others, it just happens. And that light just, it's like a fairy that sprinkles pixie dust.
Yeah. Great. And then obviously you started building these businesses later on and stuff. So how was this gift? Did you manage to use that gift in the businesses?
Yeah, so okay, with clients, for instance, I found, especially over time, that touching clients, I have to be very careful. I have to have a whole process leading up to work. Because if I'm going to go to the salon and I'm touching someone and I'm in their field, I'm picking up on everything. It can be very overwhelming. And so there's a whole process with proper grounding, proper energy hygiene, proper cleansing of the space and myself in preparation, shielding, all sorts of things. So, and even like blessings, like for my salon, every person who walks in the door, every person who so much as thinks about me or the salon, they're automatically blessed. And
Mm.
that's something that I automatically do. So that way when they come in, they're seeing clearly, they're feeling this high vibration, and we're only getting good energy between us.
That's fantastic. How do you manage to bless everyone before like as soon as they walk in? How did you organize that?
It's so in meditation, there are things that angels and my guides have taught me to do. And I can't go super into detail because it takes a lot of practice. So there are certain steps that I would have to guide someone through to get to that point, because the energy is so refined that It's like if you were to walk into a salon and say, "Oh yeah, I can do your hair color," but you have no experience, you don't know what you're going to get because you
Excellent.
have to understand all the fine details that lead up to that.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Okay, excellent. So that sounds really good. Now, obviously, you told us about how you applied your gifts to how you applied your gifts so that your clients or customers can have a good experience and stuff. Now, how about yourself and your own businesses? And you actually managed to build a number of businesses and things like that. Have you managed to use your talent in this?
Yes. So what's kind of cool, so for example, my first salon, I'll never forget this. I walked in and it was like this dilapidated, falling apart shed, an old building. And I looked at my husband and I said, "It's perfect." And it's because I was seeing what I was going to turn it into.
Mm.
And he was like looking around. He's like, "Babe," he's like, "there are holes in the floors where you can see the ground. You realize that?" I'm like, "No, no. All I need is four walls, a ceiling, and a floor. You don't understand. I can make anything I want out of this."
Yeah.
And I did on only $5,000. And within a year, I was profiting six figures.
Wow.
So, and then also with my second salon, the one that I have right now, I did the same thing. It's on a college campus.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to worry about holes in the floors this time, which is nice. But but it was a similar situation in that the space needed to be flipped. It was severely outdated. It was very masculine. It didn't feel welcoming to all. And I'm very much a person who is like, I just want to connect with everybody, no matter where you're from, no matter, and there's a huge international population on the campus. So it was fitting to flip it and rebrand it in that way. Also, with my home, I did that. We had lost our home to a house fire. And so I had to, and we had lost everything. So I was literally designing the entire interior of the house all with images in the mind, all clairvoyantly, because I didn't have a computer to do the work and create the images. I didn't have any of that. And so, so my home, I mean, people walk in, it's my sanctuary, and they're like, "Wow, it feels really good in here." So, so yeah, it's interesting because when you have that ability to see very clearly and hold the image,
Mhm.
holding the image is a whole different ball game. You can see a lot of different images and get glimpses, but if you're able to zoom in and hold the image and get all the fine details and then materialize it and create it, that's where it's at.
Totally. That sounds phenomenal. Okay, so if someone wants to actually get in touch with you, Beth, or learn more about you or connect to you, how they can do that?
So they could email me, B Gunter, it's BGUNTER 9408 at gmail.com.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, on top of that, obviously, anyone watching us, if you have any questions for Beth, you can ask them in the comments. And yeah, we'll include the email as well in the description of this episode. If you like this episode, drop us a like, subscribe, and also see you all in the next episode. Beth, thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me, Tony.